Otakuology podcast with Otaku Mike Engine Graves.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Otakuology podcast. Now, one of us, some may say, is a really nice brother senpai figure, and the other one is mentally deranged and needs a lot of work. But anyway, thanks for joining us for our show as we streamline forward into Cyberpunk. I almost said 2099. And that's not even the video game name, right?
No.
What is 1999?
2077?
There we go, 2077.
2099 is like...
It's Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
I've been telling myself since even before we start the show, all right, don't say 2099. Don't say 2099. And then we jump in here, I'm like, 2099. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, this anime takes place in 2076. So
Jesus.
It's a year before 2077.
Right. But yes, we are covering
Cyberpunk Edgerunners.
I almost called it Blade Runners. God,
Covering Blade Runners, the anime.
we're covering Cyberpunk 2099 Blade Runners, okay? Are you sure, like how big is the franchise for this right now? Could we start writing this right now and maybe see if we could sell it?
Well, there is a Blade Runner like OVA anime.
Yeah.
And it didn't do really well.
We don't need that. We just need Cyberpunk 2099 Blade Runners. Okay. That's it.
I mean, we could probably reach out to the creator of Cyberpunk and see exactly. His name is Mike Pondsmith. Pondsmith is his name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we can. We got a really great idea for you. Can we pitch it to you?
He's the guy who created the Cyberpunk tabletop game, which I knew it was a tabletop game. You didn't know that, which I was very surprised.
I did not. I knew that there was a new one coming out for it.
Uh-huh.
But I did not know because they're making it kind of into a board game.
Oh, yeah, I think I saw that. That actually looked really cool.
Yeah. And those little things that I've been telling you about, the epic encounters for D&D stuff, or like the epic encounters local legend, the team that makes that stuff is also making that game. So I thought it was funny that you were telling me, and I was like, wait, no, you're telling me like it's an RPG from back in the day, not that there's something that's about to come out that's a board game for it.
I know that they were making like another version of the role-playing game, like an updated version kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because I think it came out in maybe like 80s or the 90s. I'm not 100% sure when the tabletop game came out.
See, and I think this one's a board game. But you also said that you found stuff on them having another RPG for it come out too.
Yeah.
So
true, which I kind of want to play now. Like, I want to find people to play like the tabletop game with, because I don't have that many people to play with, you know.
You're like, I want to do the same scene that I played in the video game and hook up with those prostitutes.
Yeah, exactly. Hook up with those prostitutes.
I still remember the day that you said you got that, and then like a week later, you're like, buddy, guess what happened? I'm like, what? And you're like, hey, I just hooked up with the prostitute. And I'm like, what? No context. You didn't even say it was Cyberpunk. I'm like, when did you go out? You're like, no, it was in Cyberpunk. I was like, oh, okay, this makes full sense now.
Yeah, because the world of Cyberpunk is somewhat very sexualized, like in the world itself.
Oh my god, yes. Yes, it is.
But let's get into talking about the show. Cyberpunk Edgerunners.
We are going to talk about episodes 1 and 2 for you guys.
Yes, we are. And those are called Let You Down and Like a Boy is episode 2. And this anime came out, what, like a year or so ago, I want to say?
Oh, I think so.
It was on Netflix. And it's continuing on with our theme of covering trigger stuff, because right now we're also covering Delicious in Dungeons. But this was made by Studio Trigger, which on the Wikipedia, it says it's a Japanese, where was it? Japanese, Polish cyberpunk original net animation. Which,
That's kind of cool.
for a net animation, this is really high quality.
No shit.
Because I think of like
the first episode aired September 13th, 2022.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was thinking for like a net animation, I think sort of like lower quality. But this very much reminds me, and I hate to say it, of like the OVAs of the 80s and like 90s.
Yeah.
Like they were so high quality, and like this is like the animation is like an orgasm for your eyeballs, I have to say right off the bat. Like it's crazy good.
It's because it's made by Trigger.
Well, I mean, y'all, yeah, I mean, Trigger puts out crazy animation, and when you know it's a Trigger anime, you know it's a Trigger anime, because you're gonna get really good animation.
See, and I'd only make one argument with that. I feel like every robotic one. So, like in this one, watching some of the things going on, I felt at home that I knew that Trigger had made it, because it reminded me of a bunch of their other ones, like the Star Wars episodes that they made.
I thought you were gonna say Dead Leaves.
What, Dead Leaves?
I got even though like they didn't like produce Dead Leaves, the guy who like was in charge of that went over the Trigger.
Yeah.
But like I got so many like Dead Leaves vibes from this, from like all the little weird background characters.
I mean, I did the same thing with Gurren Lagann.
Yeah.
I mean, like it seemed like all that stuff, and like I said, I kind of felt like at home in like the Trigger studio with that stuff, compared to like what we've been watching with Delicious in Dungeon.
Yeah.
Because of the roboticness, like Trigger usually does robots and stuff. And the Star Wars thing was the first one that I kind of felt where it was a little kind of leaning out of most of it, even though it kind of was staying in there. But, like in Delicious in Dungeon, as my other comparison, since that's the one we are doing stuff for right now, I was kind of like, what? Are these made by the same people? Like, hold on, like, I'm a little confused here and there.
Well, I mean, because they're so polar opposites.
Yes.
In a sense. But when we'll talk next week about the Delicious in Dungeons, we do get the typical Gynax jiggle in Delicious in Dungeons. So there's that. If you know what the Gynax boob jiggle is, we do get that. So we'll have to talk about that later on.
We have it in Delicious in Dungeons.
Yeah, it's in Delicious in Dungeons episode.
Oh, you mean the last episode? Okay.
Yeah, the last episode we watched. Yeah.
We're not going to talk about it. We're not
going to talk about it.
I'm a little upset about that episode, but we'll talk about it then.
No spoilers.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. But we start this particular episode with this huge hulking man who looks like Bato and Santa Claus had a baby and was like really, really buff, Yeah. And he just goes out and takes these different people out, like these police officers out, which we find out that he's actually a cyber psycho. Do you know what a cyber psycho is, Jen?
Have I not been watching this anime?
Oh, I'm just asking. I'm just asking.
Yes, I know what a cyber psycho is.
Okay, what's a cyber psycho?
So a cyber psycho is somebody that gets too many like prosthetics, and it starts getting to the point that it actually messes with your mind. That's one of the things that they keep talking about right now, because I watched an episode ahead.
Okay.
That's something you have to be precautious on.
Yeah.
Is that if you're mentally unstable on some things, the more and more different upgrades, as they call them, that you get,
Yeah.
or prosthetics.
Getting the chrome, as they say.
Yeah, getting the chrome.
Getting the chrome.
The more chrome that you get actually plays on your mind more, and stuff. So I'm really excited to try and figure out more of what they're actually talking about, because we haven't
Yeah.
seen anything like that yet, except for this little part right here where some guy went crazy and started trying to kill people.
Yes, this scene is so freaking crazy. But I feel like it's also like hits the nail on the head on what cyberpunk is,
Yeah,
in a sense. Like the style and the substance and the way like the guns like go off. Like they got everything down to a T, I feel like, in this one particular scene. And it's crazy. Like you're watching this guy like murder all these police officers. And we find out that this is an event that happened the day before, and we find out that it's actually a brain dance. And what a brain dance is memories of a person, and you can relive those memories as a different person. You can like sort of like real life virtual reality, I guess I could say. And we meet our
yeah.
young protagonist, David Martinez. And David Martinez he's a poor kid, I have to say. He's a kid who's definitely down on his luck, but he goes to the Arasaka Academy, and he basically goes to this school where all these rich kids go to.
It's kind of like a preparatory school.
Yeah, and it's for like the top of the top, because there is like a hierarchy system within like the cyberpunk Night City world. And
Yes,
David, what?
yes,
Oh yeah, David is definitely the bottom of the barrel. Like he's poor, he's dirt poor. He can't even like wash his clothes because he has no money to like finish washing his clothes and stuff. And he goes to Arasaka Academy.
because you knew the blue-haired kid was the Arasaka, the head guy.
Yeah,
That was his kid.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And he gets to the school, and well, before they start talking to his mom and stuff, like, oh look, you were on the TV, you know, and the TV mentions that like there's like this cyber tech from the brain dance we just watched went missing. Nobody knows where it is. It's gone. And so David goes off to school, and he ends up not being able to afford like the upgrades to his device, and he goes and gets like a bootleg upgrade, which
yeah,
crashes their entire servers, which
yes.
I thought was really, really funny.
Oh my gosh, yes. Because they log in, everybody's sitting there, and like whatever their like avatar thing that they look like is, and
Yeah,
then David's is just this big black hole, and then you just see it, and like it starts shifting the whole screen and just
I think it's
busts the whole
funny.
thing up.
I think it's funny when like the rich kids are like bullying him, like, "Oh, you're nothing. You don't got no money. You can't even afford the clothes," you know, stuff like that.
Yeah,
And he basically breaks the entire system, uh,
yes,
which he gets in trouble for that. And I think, is this when he gets expelled?
no. This
Okay.
is they tell him that basically, and his mom said, "Oh, we'll have to pay for it or whatever," and they're like, "Oh, you your time's kind of running out. If
Hmm.
we need to move you, try and help you move to another school or something like that.
Yeah.
Because then he goes back home, and
Is
him
he's
and his mom are going to go somewhere.
Yeah, him and his mom are going somewhere after the school.
Yeah,
And we meet this group of, they call themselves the Animals. These big, beefy guys are hanging out of this car. And David and his mom get stuck in a firefight, a one-sided firefight, I would say. And they end up in this horrible accident. David gets stuck in his car. His mom is on the street, surrounded by fire. The trauma team shows up, and he's like, "Oh, thank God, the trauma team shows up." This is fucked up because I forgot about this in the game.
Yeah.
I forgot about this. Where like the trauma team, basically, if you're not a part of like whatever membership the trauma team has, or like covered by a specific insurance, they won't help you.
Right.
And they basically take off like, oh, leave them for the meat wagon, which is like your typical like emergency services.
Yeah. Your B team.
Your B team, you know?
Yes.
And so David, he's waiting outside to see what's going on with his mom. He can't go see his mom because he didn't get,
because they don't have that package.
They don't have that package.
Oh my God.
To where they have visitation rights. And so, like, he's like, oh, okay, okay, we'll figure something out.
And then basically, we could heal her, but you don't have that package either.
You don't have that package either, you know.
Oh my God,
we're gonna have to wait this out, and you have 3 days to basically pay this money.
Hey, you have funeral costs, or
but
you can go with the cheap option.
Well, at first, like. So he goes home. His mom's still alive at this point.
Yes.
And he goes home. He can't get into his house or his apartment because the rent's past due. So he has to sneak in. His bully from school basically calls him. It's like, oh, I could offer my condolences about what happened. Is this the one where no? That's after she dies, right?
Yes, he
got
her ashes and everything.
Okay, I'm thinking of head. So he goes home first. And he finds this like tech, which is the tech from the Cyber Psycho.
No, he found the tech when he was sitting outside the car.
Okay, yeah, I was confused then.
Yeah, he found the tech when he got out of the car. I think they came and picked up his mom, and then he found it in a bag.
Okay.
So he decides...
Because it was attached to her jacket.
Yeah, he decides, I can sell this and get some eddies.
Yeah, which are the credits of this world.
Yeah. And so he tries calling around to the doctor that, is the reason why the system got fucked up in the first place at school.
Yeah.
And he tries to figure that out.
It doesn't work.
He's like, no, I'll just hold on to it.
Yeah.
He leaves. He decides he's going to go do all this other stuff.
The next day, he goes back to Arasaka Academy, gets in a fight with his bullies.
That was on his way home.
That was on his way home?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought he went back to Arasaka Academy at that point.
No, that's when he was walking around, and he was going to go back to the academy.
Okay.
And then the bully found him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was walking through that little alleyway.
Yeah.
That's still like in his neighborhood.
Yeah.
So, they went out of their way to find him.
The whole scene with him and the bully is like insane. Well, the first scene, I guess you could say. Because he's like, oh man, you can't afford anything, You're going to get expelled because you can't afford to pay for the stuff, like the servers and stuff. And like, his bully has like this like top of the line, like, MMA chip inside of him, which
Kung Fu chip.
Is it Kung Fu chip? Because in the dub it said MMA chip, and I was like, he's not doing MMA.
No, he says it out loud. He says it's a Kung Fu master rank Kung Fu chip or whatever. That's why he was doing all the punches in front of his face.
Which
before
having a Fist of the North Star parody in Cyberpunk is hilarious, I have to say.
Well, and it just makes you think, like, he had, and he brings up the hands too. He's got some kind of modified hands.
Yeah.
Which work with this chip
mm-hmm.
that he's supposed to have, or does have. And So it goes from there. Of course, he is able to basically beat up,
Oh, he beats
you
the
know,
shit out of him.
yeah, he's able to beat him up and everything because David has like no modifications.
He has I think your every day-to-day life modifications.
Yeah, he's got your basic package.
Your basic stuff, because he even has the thing in his hand, which helps control things and whatnot and stuff. Um,
I don't know because I haven't seen anything in his hands yet.
it's like a little. It's in the palm of his hand. He taps on it in the first episode. Yeah,
Okay.
it's in one of his. I don't remember what hand it's in, but it's in one of his hands, and he's got the chip slots in the side of his neck.
Yeah.
Is what he got, and so he gets beat up, gets called by the doctor. His mom didn't make it, and this is where we get the scene where he's like, "Yeah, we could." Where you're like, "We could have helped her, but you didn't really have that plan, so there was only so much we could do."
Right.
And David was like, "But you said she was doing good, what happened?" And he starts to kind of have this breakdown. He gets her cremated, and then she's in this giant capsule thing. He
Yes.
goes home with his mom, and this scene, I have to say, this scene is heartbreaking, and I feel like anybody could possibly go. What happened, could happen to David. This is a very relatable scene. I feel like because David has nobody. We don't know
Yes.
who his dad is. His mom's dead. We don't know if he has other family. He's got no money. He's technically got no place to live because he's squatting right now in his
Right.
apartment.
Well, and that's what when he gets to the door, it says that their rent is 3 months past due, so he's
Yeah,
locked out. So he
yeah.
has to sneak in.
hmm And then
Uh,
his bully called him. He's like, "Oh, I heard about what happened to your mom. I would offer my condolences, but I'm not that type of guy." And David has this mental breakdown, and you see him. He takes off, and he basically goes up to the Ripper Doctor, which is Doc, who's the guy who installs modifications on people.
right. And he takes his little bag of this spinal cord implant.
Yeah,
And it's like, hey doc, put this in me.
I forgot about the sex brain dance things and how he had a thing attached to his dick. I forgot that was
Yeah.
in the game. That's in the game.
Well, so you see it multiple times. Like the
Yes.
funny thing is, like when you're looking at stuff, and you're like, oh, because whenever they do the scene where the first one is in the first episode where he's
Yeah.
walking around the town, and
There's a guy just sitting outside.
there's 3 guys sitting outside,
Yeah.
and it's in one of the scenes where they all got this thing on their junk, and they, whatever's going at it.
Yeah.
And then later on, it's like the same scene where he's walking to the same places, but he's kind of moping and he's sitting on the same stoop with the guys doing it, and he's like different places, and you're like, what?
Yeah, what's going on here? Because
And you can just see it. Like that's what people's lives are.
they don't really have much going on, basically.
Yeah.
Especially if you're at the lower end of the rankings of society and stuff like that.
Right.
They don't really have much going on, like you said. And when to see the Ripper Doctor, because we see this scene at the beginning of the show, which I forgot this was in the show too. I forgot they had nudity in the show.
Yeah.
Because I had watched the first episode prior, but to see it again, I was like, oh, thank God my daughter's not in here watching.
Well, and they show it the first time, and it's the one. So I watched the first episode about halfway through, and I was watching it around other people.
And you're
when
he
walks up to the doctor, and there's 3 people sitting there doing this stuff now, I was like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, but he's basically it's time I get chromed up. Put this on me. I need to do this. And the doc's like, oh, you don't have the builds for this. You have to have special modifications and stuff to take this. This is military grade tech and stuff. And that's where our first episode ends. And then we move into the second episode and we start off hardcore with him getting his back cut open and having this weird mechanical spine implanted into his body, which that was really hard to watch, I feel like.
Oh my gosh. Right?
I was like, that's not in the video game. All I have to do is sit in a chair and nothing happens.
See, and I can't remember because it made me think about another live action movie that something happens like that.
I was thinking of kind of like Total Recall.
I can't remember what I was thinking of because I was thinking of it's a metal spine and then it goes into somebody and then there's needles that go into their spinal cord.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it's in depth when it happens. I was like, oh my God, what movie is that though?
Yeah, I don't remember that exactly.
But the cool thing about the doctor though, I do want to bring up, even though he sounds a little Jamaican.
A little bit.
Is his elbow attachments are basically designed where whatever he wants to do, he can take his arms off and swap it to the arms he needs.
Yeah.
I thought that was a little cool in that character.
It is really cool. It is really cool. 'Cause I think that's in the game too. They can do that.
Yeah.
With because you go to the Ripper Doctor a lot in the game. But yeah, that scene was brutal, and I was like, oh, that's gotta suck, because it felt so much pain and even the state of mind he was in at one point. He's obviously doing this to get revenge, and he goes back to school, and he's in the middle of class. He's got blood on his seeping through his jacket. And he just kicks the guy out of the chair, and he's like, "Come on, let's fight. Let's go. Let's do this.
We're on school grounds.
We can't do this." He's like, "No, we're gonna fucking do this." And he literally just beats the shit out of this kid.
Yeah.
Which is, I was like, just desserts. Oh my God. I was like, I don't want this kid around in the rest of the anime. Just punch him out and just kill him. But they didn't kill him. They didn't kill him. He just broke his nose. But but
we do find out his ability though. He's almost got a two-step kind of thing where he's super fast.
Yeah.
David is. So yeah, it's really cool how he zooms around the guy.
Yeah.
To where the guy's throwing his punch and gets around him, and then he throws his punch and just boop, throws him into the wall.
No, it definitely is really cool because because we saw that at the very beginning of the episodes, or the first episode, but to see that he harnessed it and he used it so well, we come to find out that Arasaka knows, the corporation, they know that David has this tech. So they basically want him to be their guinea pig to see if they can I guess mass produce it or something like that. Because I think it's a prototype, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And
it's a prototype, and they want David to do it because they said there's something in David's body that lines up with this prototype so well, and they want to see what it is that happens out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he meets up. He's leaving. He's leaving there. He's leaving school. He's on the subway. He meets up with this woman who is stealing chips out of corpos, which corpos are the rich people, stealing them out of corpos necks. And she's like
stealing from what's the main guy, the villain, the son, the school, and all these people are a Gorop.
Oh, I don't remember.
Whatever the company was that David was trying to get into. Because I know at one point he just calls them Appas. And it's Appa Gorata company or whatever it is, and then he just says, the oppas or whatever.
Well, I know the corpos. The corpos are like all the different corporations,
Yeah.
and Arasaka is like the big bad like main corporation.
Okay.
Unless I
Yeah.
miss something. I don't know because
No,
it's
those are the only ones that they're stealing though, or
okay.
is that corporation.
Yeah, like they're stealing like certain corporation. I remember what
The one you
uh
just said.
was the Arasaka. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
because they're like the best. They're like the richest corporation, and they're like most like overreaching type of corporation. And she goes to try and steal his stuff. He catches her, and basically she finds out, oh, he's in trouble, and he wants like in on her game, her gig she's got going on. And so they team up to basically mug people on this, well, with them not knowing, mugging them, like stealing
Yeah.
from them.
Yeah.
Um,
Because she's like a hacker
mhm.
and can make like the chips like shoot out of people's necks. And she had a thing, I think, in her wrist or in her hand where it was like a magnet. She could just get it to like pop into her hand.
Yeah, well, and at one point she had the. It's a thing in the game where she has like this like it's like a garrote wire almost,
Yeah.
which it you can like use and like whip at people and like cut them and stuff. Which she has like she uses that against David. Like she has it like wrapped around his neck at one point, which that's what I thought she was using, but maybe she was using something different. I don't know. I'm not for sure, 100%.
I think that is because, like I said, I've watched the episode ahead and she actually uses it as a weapon
Okay.
and cuts off somebody's arm. So, I mean, I
Okay.
think it is the same thing. It just depends on if you pull or not.
Okay. Yeah, because in that you can just use it to kill people and stuff.
Yeah.
But they team up, and they have a pretty good. They do a pretty good job with each other, like teaming up together. And after everything is said and done, they basically like they're counting like all their stuff, like the percentage or whatever, for like the split. David ends up getting a big nosebleed, and basically he goes unconscious. And so I forgot her name's Lucy, right?
Oh, goodness. Don't
I think
ask me
it's
that.
Lucy. I think her name's Lucy. Uh, Lucy ends up calling an ambulance. They're in the ambulance. David's like in and out of consciousness because he wasn't like taking like the pills that he was supposed to be taking.
He didn't know he was supposed to take pills.
Yeah, he's supposed to be. He didn't know he was supposed to take pills, but
Yeah.
he was supposed to be taking these pills to help regulate the
Yeah, or injections.
or injections to regulate the prosthetic that he has.
Yes.
And so the EMT decides to hijack David and basically like we're gonna take him, harvest his stuff, and sell this thing on the black market. Which is this whole scene in the like ambulance is so like really well done, I feel like, and really intense. And
Yes.
she's like,
Yes.
nah, we're not doing this. She like knocks him out and she takes the gurney high speed going through traffic, like weaving in and out of these cars. And I'm like, oh my God, like that was
While
whoa.
on all fours on the edge of this gurney,
Yes.
looking in between her legs, upside down, controlling where it goes.
Yeah. And David's like,
Oh my God. Yeah, then he throws up in the breather thing or whatever.
oh, that was disgusting.
Oh, it was. I was
That's
like,
disgusting.
what's going on?
Yeah. And so after that whole incident, he's still out. He's like, take me to the dock. And she's like, what are you talking about? So they go to the dock. He gets fixed up, and that's when we found out he needs like the injections and stuff. He doesn't have them. So she takes like his cut or whatever of the chips and pays for the injections or the stuff that he needs. Because we find out that like he did like eight like activations of the of like the
Yeah.
upgrade that he has.
In one day, yeah.
in one day, which is like the limit or something. Oh, above the limit. That's what it was. That was what it
Yeah.
was.
Because his limit's supposed to be 2 to 3.
Two to three. And so that doesn't really work out for poor old David, because nobody tells him how to use the Chrome he's got. He just, I guess he
Then
didn't know he had a limitation.
then he gets his pills for like the week.
Yeah, he gets his pills for the week. And so Lucy and David end up going back to her house, and we find out a little bit more about Lucy and like what David exactly wants to do with his life, and what he's gonna, or try to figure out what to do with his life, after everything that's happened. And we find out that Lucy's goal is to go to the moon. And David
Yes.
makes fun of this because he calls it a prison camp, because a lot of people died to, like, I guess, colonize the moon. And Lucy's like, what are you talking about? Shut up. Like, I want to get as far away from Night City as possible, because Night City isn't a good place.
Right.
At all.
Which this part,
Yeah.
This part, we have to talk about this, okay?
Okay.
So, watching this part, when they're both laying on the bed with the visor stuff, totally made me think of, like, the Total Recall part.
Oh, yeah?
It's the same movie. Yeah, where they had the sex scene.
Oh, you're thinking of...
Arnold. I don't... Maybe it's not Total Recall.
Are you thinking of Demolition Man?
Yeah.
With Sylvester Stallone and Sandra Bullock?
Maybe?
Where they have, like, the VR sex together?
Yeah, and he's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. No, that's... I mean, I could see that. Like, I could totally see that, because they're...
That's what I thought. And then they show the little, like, package sitting on the bed.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, is that a condom?
You think it is, but no, it's just like a chip, like a microchip.
Yeah. So, because I was like, they're not doing anything. Why would he have to put a condom on?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I think the doctor gave him a chip or whatever, like, way early on, too. Like,
oh yeah, because he got the one from for the cyber psycho.
Yeah. Well, and I think the other one he got from the doctor was for the thing for the school.
Oh yeah. Well, he got the bootleg stuff for the school.
Yeah. So
yeah,
like, I'd seen it before, and I was like, this is kind of weird. Like, what is that for? And then we watched that part, and I'm like, wait, like, what the fuck is going on?
What the fuck's going on here?
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, they're on the moon and all this, and I was like, is this foreplay?
Well, she was just showing him, like, the moon and stuff like that, and I don't remember if it was a brain dance or just a simulator. Which
It's just a simulator, yeah.
I was a little confused about that. Which, the whole moon scene was a lot of fun to watch.
It was.
I liked it, to see him, like, messing around on the moon, having fun for once. In these like first 2 episodes, like, actually being like a kid and not like trying to get one up on somebody, or try to make some cash. He's just having fun, like jumping on the moon and driving around on the dune buggy.
Well, and then we see him, kind of falling for her too.
Mm-hmm.
So we do get that little part added in there.
Yeah,
and then we have where he's kind of staring deep into her eyes on the moon.
And then it cuts out.
And then it cuts out, and we just hear a guy's voice, and you're like, what?
What the fuck? Yeah, and that's where it ends. That's where episode 2 ends. Which ends with these guys surrounded the bed in her apartment. David turns to look at Lucy, and she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. She's kind of just smoking a cigarette, acting nonchalant. And they're like, yeah, we want what's ours. We're taking our tech. And that's where the episode ends,
Yeah.
So what did you think about these first 2 episodes as somebody who didn't know really wholeheartedly what Cyberpunk was?
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
I feel like I said, watching episode 3,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's more of the video game aspect to it.
Okay.
Um, but no, I feel like this fully got us ingrained in the story
Yeah.
and everything. And it gets us set up pretty well for episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but because the only thing is that we got to see, which I imagine as you go through the game, you can get more chrome.
Yeah.
You work on your skills, you do all this other stuff, and whether you want to use a blade or a gun or
Yeah. David's basically
whatever.
a blank slate.
Yeah. You have all these different things going for it, and you get to see that a little more in 3. So I like how we've seen this, and it's like, okay, all we know right now is that we can move super fast and steal shit. Okay, like
Yeah.
you know, um, but it does open us up a lot more for other stuff that will come.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in terms of more chrome and
Yeah.
more skills that he learns and things like that. So
Yeah. I have to say, like, I know this is quote like an adaptation of the video game or of a video game.
yeah,
It's not like it's original, but it's attached to that like world
yeah,
of Cyberpunk 2077. This is really good so far. I feel
it is. Yeah,
all the nuance and stuff, like all the like just immersing yourself in the world in just this anime so far is really good. Like you get to see his ups and downs, in this first 2 episodes, and the heartache he has, and how the world like
yeah.
affects him.
Well, and you also kind of go with like that hero story. Like we had somebody that because of money, because of their frame,
Hmm.
because of like all these different factors, which all basically went back to being poor.
Yeah.
Of why like he really wasn't able to like do anything in the world.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Even though his
he was so cut off from so much stuff.
even though his mom like wanted what was best for him, and his mom was the one who was pushing him to go to the school,
Yes.
which
Yes.
it comes up later, but she was like stealing like enhancements from dead bodies.
See, and I wasn't going to bring that up, but yeah, it
Well,
happened
I
like this.
figured it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
No,
figured it out like in the
it
first
gets
episode.
yeah, it gets brought up like in the first 5 minutes of episode 3.
Yeah. She's stealing stuff in order to like pay for David's school.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you really don't think about it that way. You like you like watching it, like if you don't have that eye already, like you don't really think about it. And I think if you have played the video game, you do have more of an eye for some of the things.
Hmm.
But like for me, like I was completely green. Like I didn't think about that or whatever. Like even when she had the thing, like I was like, oh, maybe that fell out of the limo car, or
Yeah.
something like, and it's just there, like it's the
It was
whatever
like
that it kind of fell at his feet.
it's in like the very first episode when you see her on the couch. At one point, it's like a quick glance, and you can see it like it's tucked into her jacket.
Oh, I don't even think I
Yeah,
noticed that.
it was like duct taped into her jacket, like the
Okay.
side. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I didn't even notice that. But
yeah, but yeah,
um, but yeah,
um,
and then finding this whatever particular modification it is for the spine
yeah,
implant. Now you realize that David does have this fighting chance. He's able to do all this other stuff and be able to, you know,
yeah.
actually stand toe to toe
Which
because, he doesn't have he's got the money for it,
yeah,
or
it's really similar to like the game because
yeah,
in the game, like you start out like basically poor, doing odd jobs for people and stuff, and you have to work your way up
yeah,
to like be like stronger. It's basically like David.
yeah, yeah.
And
So,
but in that one, you get to pick like what like lifestyle you come from. in the
Okay.
game. So you can be like, I come from the rich, or I come from the streets, or like the Outlanders. I think it was like Outlanders or something. I don't remember
Okay.
what they were called exactly, but like they're like no, I think they're like nomads. I think they were.
Yeah.
And you can pick and you interact different ways and talk different ways and stuff like that to people and have different outcomes and missions. Sort of, it's a big immersive game. And to see
Oh yeah.
like
Well, and
just
it really made me think of more like a Fallout esque game,
yeah, you could say that.
but like after like Fallout, like everybody started getting on their feet, like almost the other game that Fallout made, the Outer Worlds one
Yeah,
or whatever. Like that's kind of what it reminded me of. Is like you have these different things and different ways of
yeah,
doing stuff, and you just kind of like upgrade your special abilities, to be better or something like that.
yeah,
So
yeah. No, I mean you're not necessarily wrong.
yeah,
They do share very much similarities, but for this man, these first two episodes were really, really good. Even though like it was mostly set up, I feel like within like the first two episodes, I feel like they told us a lot.
yeah,
And I think, like you said, like you can obviously get more out of it if you played the video game or played like the tabletop game.
yeah.
But like, I had to go back and look. I was like, what are like some of the slang terms that they use? Because I didn't remember,
Oh yeah,
like what exactly they were and stuff. It was just funny to see like how they translated it into the show. Um, but yeah, I really liked it. It's a lot of the first two episodes are really good, and I'm looking forward to like watching and talking about the rest of the show because man, like I could see why people really like this show
yeah.
because
Oh, I agree.
it's balls to the wall like crazy and a very good a very good adaptation of the game. I feel like
Yeah,
and it doesn't like sugarcoat anything or like um it doesn't take anything away from it, because like what you see is what you get.
yeah. Well, and
Like
see, it did make me want to try out the game too. So I was like, oh, I may have to buy this game.
well, uh, let me just tell you,
Okay.
you might want to wait to get a PlayStation 5 because they stopped updating the PS4 version.
Okay.
So wait to get a PS5 and then you can
It's
if
on
you
my list.
if you get the PS4 version like for super cheap, you can actually upgrade for free to the PS5 version digitally.
Okay.
Or you can get the all-in-one version where it comes with all the DLC and stuff
Yeah.
for like on the PS5.
Cool.
Um, which you get a whole nother campaign for that.
Okay.
Like a really big campaign. And a
Have
whole
you
nother
have you seen anything in the anime so far that is more related to the game, like people, places, things?
a lot of the buildings look very similar. A lot
Okay.
of the guns and a lot of the attachments like the Cyber Psycho had in the game or in the
Yeah.
in the show, you could get those and stuff and
Okay.
like it was to a T like everything that was in the show is probably in the game at some point.
Okay.
I would say the only thing slightly is, in the game they're not anime looking characters.
Yeah. Yeah.
They look like normal people. you know,
Right.
uh,
See, and this almost reminds me when both of us were playing the vampire game.
yeah,
And you had to make the different decisions and
yeah. It's
what
it's
missions am I going to do?
it's very much like that.
Yeah.
Every action has a consequence. And stuff like that. I mean, I can't wait to see like what happens because in Cyberpunk 2077, there was an update when the anime came out
Yeah.
where they put the anime's lore into the game, and you can actually find like his jacket, a specific gun in the game. You can find out, like, go on these like special quests because he's not in the game, but his presence is in the game. I guess you could say.
Yeah.
We don't know what happened to him after whatever,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool. I like it a lot. I like the anime a lot. I can see why like so many people like it. Like I said,
Right.
and
Well, hopefully Trigger does not come out with another anime here soon that will have to have 3 shows going. Watching and trying to record all of those and putting them out.
But yeah, this is going to be on our off weeks when we're not covering Delicious in Dungeons for the foreseeable future. At this point, hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you guys are enjoying this new, not style. I want to say format that we're doing for the podcast, and not covering an entire anime in one episode.
Right.
I hope people are liking it more. Because I'm liking it more because I can actually remember stuff. And I'm not binge watching everything.
Right. I agree. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Come back.
Yes.
To another episode of our Cyberpunk 2099 Blade Runner
podcast.
As we cover that, and stay tuned for more of our Delicious in Dungeon as they come out.
Make sure to share the podcast, rate and review the podcast on whatever platform. Tell your friends. Hit us up on our Instagram, Otakuology Podcast, and we can talk to us there. Either one of us, whichever one you want to talk to. Give us ideas, recommendations for stuff to cover. Let us know if you hate the show, love the show. Who knows what. We'll talk to you.
Don't tell us if you hate the show.
Tell us if you hate the show.
Then we'll Jay and Silent Bob your ass, okay?
But anyways, we'll catch you guys in the next episode.
See you next Tuesday.